By the way, any of you who are already here out there on Zoom or another Facebook, we're going to start with the supplemental text. I sent you 2 texts today.
All right, we're up. We're good.
Okay. Welcome to Tuesday Chassidus Lounge. My name is Avi Kamman, and we are in the 3rd part, and I think this will be the wrap-up, depending on how fast we go, about tefillah, davening. Now, we call it davening in Yiddish, but in Hebrew it's called tefillah. Tefillah has a number of derivations from the word. The actual root of it all starts with Naphtali. That when Naphtali was born through Bilhah to Rachel, Rachel said, now my husband will be connected to me. And that's the word Naphtali. So tefillah is about making connection. And another expression of tefillah is from Lashon nafel, to fall, shiftless, to fall on your face as we do, or to bow down as we do in Shemoneh Esrei, to approach prayer with bittul, with openness, with complete open channel. And that open channel is a channel which, as we learn, connects brain with heart and heart to brain. The name of that particular faculty, which connects heart to brain and brain to heart, is called das. And before we plunge in, as we do every week, we'd like to tell everybody that in general, this shir is dedicated to Le'ilui Nishmas Shlomi ben Moshe, our friend Bundi, and we'd like to give people out there or here opportunities to mention people who either need refuah shlema or also in Le'ilui Nishmas. Anybody?
Le'ilui Nishmas, Shlomi or Alexa Silva.
All right.
Le'ilui Nishmas.
Wait a minute. I don't think people can people hear from? Can you hear you? Can people hear you?
Alexa Silva or Shlomi Silva. I remember mother's name.
Okay.
Right. Silva also. Nishmas, my mom, Simchatenu Bash Mordechai,
Sheldon Aliyah.
And Sheldon Silver, I don't know his Hebrew name also, was nifter recently.
Okay. Anybody else?
Refuah Shalema for Charles Alexandra Bas Chana Esther, and Elias Neshama for Maisha Leib ben Shimon Yitzchak.
Okay.
And Louis Nishmas Shlomo ben Avadia.
Okay. You had one more?
Refuah Shalema for tomorrow, Yentl Bas Chana.
Refuah Shalema.
And Alitas Neshama Rachel Bas Yirmiyahu Meir.
Beautiful. All of these neshamas should have an aliyah. And as we always say, that neshamas should have an aliyah, and poil Yeshua's v'kerev oretz, their elevation should spark godly influence up above that rains down here below for all of our benefits. And I guess the reason I attach this supplemental before we dive in is because there's another big yortzeit today. Yortzeit of Moshe Rabbeinu.
Yeah. Is it Aleph or
Zion Adar. Zion
You light
Adar.
a candle?
Zion Adar. It's this one.
Some people do.
Yeah. And it's also his birthday. So we're going to start with 2 sentence preface to this supplemental piece. Just reminding ourselves that a couple of things that we've learned, which we won't go into detail about. Tefillah, we just defined earlier as rooted in words which mean connect. Naphtali, to connect. And there's one more, which it says in Gemara Kalim, the Berachos there's a whole Masechta on Kalim. When you put pieces of clay together, it's called tofil, to feel kli cheres, to join pieces of clay together. And as I said, the joining that the Rebbe Rashab tells us is a definition of prayer. First of all, he tells us what is not the definition of prayer. Prayer is not hisboinus. Prayer is not meditation. Meditation, contemplation is a prerequisite for prayer. But hisboinus, bina, is a function of the mind. Das, although also a mind faculty, is an intermediary between the heart and the mind and joins the two together. So this is all about bringing the heart into the mind and bringing the mind into the heart. And Moshe Rabbeinu is the paradigm of this. As it says, Moshe Rabbeinu is called Goel Rishon v'Goel Achron. He's the first Redeemer. He's the last Redeemer. Moshe Rabbeinu has the soul of Mashiach. The soul of Mashiach came into these levels of reality when God created the world, and he said, let us create, right? And there's an expression that when he created, that the Ruach Elokim Yerachepes al Hamayim, that the Spirit of God spread out over the Mayim, and the commentators say, this Ruach Elokim Zeh Ruach HaMashiach. This is the Spirit of Mashiach. Moshe is the one who embodies that Spirit of Mashiach, but he's not the only one. Yaakov Avinu embodies that. And it's embodied from one tzaddik down to another, and it's embodied in all the way down, of course, till our generation in the tzaddik Ador. And so Moshe, in this opening paragraph of Parshas Mishpatim, very interesting drush, I think. It says, these are the judgments. God is talking to Moshe, and he says, these, I'm going to tell you all the laws. And he says, Kisikna Eved Ivri. He says, when you acquire a Hebrew slave. So the question that's raised on this page, and we won't go into detail, is if it was in flowing, if it would flow in normal, what we would think is normal, it would be continuing in the plural. When you give these judgments out and acquire, and I'm going to tell you what the first one is when any person acquires a Hebrew slave. But it doesn't say that. Because Sikna Eved, it goes on Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu. When you put out these laws in front of people, you should know that in doing so, you are connecting. A kinyan is an acquisition, right? It connects one object with an owner. It brings something from one reshus, one domain into another. You are going to acquire the Jewish people. You are going to make a connection between me, God up above, and reality down here below. And it's going to be a two-way street. The Torah, the Avodah, and Gemilas Chasodim. I'm going to give the Torah from above. You're going to do acts of kindness down here below. And the glue is the tefillah, Avodah Shebalev, which is called the Avodah of the heart. So I want to skip down to the fourth or fifth line where there's some underline. Begins with V'hainu.
Do we have papers?
Oh, you guys don't have the paper?
No.
Well,
I didn't know if these were the ones. Pass these out. I'll pass it to Jonathan, please. Simcha.
Okay, one from the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this will be an introduction to Das, which is our theme. That tefillah is Das, is connecting heart to mind, mind to heart.
What page are we on? Sorry.
We're on the first page of this part of this thing.
We don't have that.
Oh, you have to have the second one. Hold on to that.
Okay.
Take this.
And you're gonna
Hold on to it. This is the supplemental text, so to speak.
Thank you. Okay.
Jonathan, you want? You pass that on. Okay. Fifth line up from the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or 6. V'hainu. Just like we see that the human being and the visage of the human being above, the shape of the man above, has das. Kach elu haneshomas. So there are neshomas who are called das godol, who have a great das, be'elokus. Now, these neshomas are neshomas, these are the neshomas who manifest it. Every one of us has a connection to the roots of everything that's created in the shape of a person, all the 10 spheros. All of us have connections to that. The avoida is to bring it out, to expose that. But there are neshamas who have come down here with a talent, put it that way, with a gift to be able to express that. There are neshamas, sheyesh lahem das gadol be'elokus, and they have great das in elokus. Upirish das, what does das mean? And I'm using this because it's a fundamental in Chassidus, and it's a fundamental understanding of prayer. Prayer is all about das, connection. What is das? So das ein ratzilem hayidi levad. Das does not mean knowledge alone, although it does. It is a brain function. Da eselake abihu has the semantic of knowing, but it's much deeper than that at the same time. El bechinas hagasha. Das refers to a cognitive feeling in the heart.
Hmm.
A cognitive feeling in the heart. Mamish. And I used an example a week or two ago of an experience that I had. And I'll just put this on the table again. The first time that I actually learned Tanya in a class, after being exposed to it just on my own, discovering the book, reading the book, like I read all the other Lahavdil Elef Abdallah's books that I read on philosophy and theology and et cetera, et cetera. And when I read the Tanya on my own, I knew there was something there. And I, for whatever reason, and I won't go into details, we could do this another time, I came to Crown Heights and I went to a Tanya class. I went into a yeshiva, and it happened to be Hashgacha Pratis, that the class was a Tanya class. And every word that rabbi said of Tanya, I felt in my chest, felt it actually touch me. This is the state that a person is meant to be in prayer.
Mm.
That the pesukim that you're saying, the words that you're saying, the havana that you have, that havana comes down and enters into your heart. And tonight we'll learn a bit about how to allow that to happen, and also how to deal with it if it doesn't happen.
So
das.
is das just, can das be that people feel things extremely, very, very strong, but they don't have the way to express it? Can das be dormant? Can das be something that's there, but a person doesn't know how to channel it?
All of the above.
Okay.
Absolutely all of the above. Yes. That's what I said. But we're going to talk about if you can first of all, you can have Havana, and you can have, there are three words that I mentioned last time. These are the three words which are mentioned in Chassidus about das. The first one you have on the table is Hargasha, feeling. The other two are Hakora, which is like seeing it with your eyes. And in that, das, let's remember, das is first of all, it's a middle kav. And all the middle kavim go up to the world of Soivev, the world of pure godliness. So das has that capability. And it shares that capability with Chokhmah. Chokhmah is also koyach ma, the window to see into the allness, which is indescribable. But das has an advantage. It takes that aspect, and it takes the aspect of actual Havana, of understanding and contemplation and meditation, and melds the two together into the heart. Now, you could be at various stages of this, right? And have more or less success in it. So what's on the table is how to do the practice of das.
But there's also das from the Sitra Achra, from the Yetzer Hara, no?
Of course, there's that. Every zela umazeh aselikim. You got to be careful.
Right.
Absolutely.
That for sure, especially when it comes to feelings.
Sure. Every of the 10 spheres and all of the makif, there's para of leumazeh, there's para of kedusha, there's lovin of kedusha, there's lovin of leumazeh, huh?
There's para of kedusha.
Yeah, it's explained in Chassidus. Lovin of kedusha. Lovin was a bad guy, right? Right. But Yaakov Avinu, his whole effort was to elevate him and bring him back to his source, up into the worlds of everything, the world of Tohu, into the world of everything that's, the highest place. Lovin is white. And white is the color which includes all other colors till those colors disappear. It's very deep. Paryo is also isparihu. It's a notion of light which pours out, isparihu. So, and yes, but back to your question, that's why you have to be very careful. You have to know that you're doing it in a Torah context.
Yeah, because, everyone's always like, oh, I'm living my truth.
I'm living my true self.
Right.
And you better be really careful with that.
Truth.
Right.
That's such a scary tightrope.
I mean, I'll tell you an avenue that I see a lot of mistakes going on, not necessarily in front of my face, but over the course of my life learning Chassidus and dealing with people with Chassidus. Since everything is rooted in the allness, which is the everything of everything, right? So some people will give you an expression, everything is holy. But we know that's not true.
That's what Acher did.
Wait a minute. Yeah, that's what Acher did. That's what Shabtai Tzvi did, right? There are two in the Jewish, in the vernacular of Torah and Chassidus, There's Kodesh and Choil, right? There's the side of Kodesh and the side of the other side.
Right.
So you got to know the difference. Yes, and as he explains here, first of all, if you're doing his bindiness, you're doing his bindiness not on just fuzzy wuzzies. You're doing his bindiness on Torah that you've learned. So that's why his bindiness is so fundamental, and that that his bindiness has to be rooted in the Torah. Torah avoided Sodom. It's a three-pronged stool, and one without the other falls, right? If you're just doing exploration of the heart, which is avoida, without the sandwich of Torah on the one hand and deeds on the other hand, all al pi Torah, then it's not going to be, you could turn it into the dark. So das is, we'll start with Oil Hagasha, Hakora, and Hiskashrus. So the third level, the third word, Hiskashrus, as we're going to see. So you recognize something in Kedusha, you bring it into your heart. How do you recognize it? Because you're learning. You're learning Chassidus, you're learning Kabbalah, Chassidus, the inner dimensions of the Torah, and your mind is full of that. And you come to a place of mental envisioning, like as if you saw it with your own eyes. That's always the expression in Chassidus, is as if you see it with your physical eyes. And now you're bringing what you see into connecting it with your heart so that you have a heritage. And that connection is called hiskashrus, unity, as we're going to see in a few minutes. So the first level is hagasha, to feel it, which the English translation of our book, and I've tracked it to feel it, translated as sense perception. Perception is tangible. Hagasha. The Habes, okay, so there are souls who have that experience, who are either born or work on that and actually realize that in everyday life. And there is a capability for that in everybody, because down deep there is a tzidkus in every Jew. The Habes who become Zera Behema. So these are called Zera Odom, the ones who are living it, like the Rebbe, and of which the Zohar says, I've seen many come up here, and the ones who are Bnei Aliyah, the ones who really are the ones who can rise, are very few. This would be the Tzaddik Gomer of Tanya. But everybody has the tzidkus, everybody has righteousness. So these others, lower souls, however, are called Zera Behema. They're Jewish souls, which are in the level of Behema. And he says these are the neshamas of the lower worlds, not neshamas of Atzilus, but the neshamas of Biyah, Shehem, Kamaat, Kol HaNeshamas Sheberesin. Of Biyah, Bria, it's abbreviation. Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah. Shehem, Kamaat, Kol HaNeshamas Sheberesin, which are virtually all the souls of our generation. In the Neshamas of Atzilus, same Bnei Aliyah, because the neshamas of Atzilus are called, this is language of the Zohar, they're called ones who come up here, Shehem Uatim, and the Zohar says they're very few. Even B'Doros Rishonim, even in the early days. So what's the difference? And are you in a caste, like caste, of being a Zera Behema? No. The difference is das. The difference between being a Zera Odom, one who can rise to merge and experience the allness and bring the allness into the heart, is someone who has das. So one that doesn't have das is called she'ein lahem das. That's a Zera Behema. They don't have das in Elokus. Ve'en ratzilena she'ein lahem seichel. It doesn't mean they don't have a mind. A person can have a mind, but without the fusion.
Can't hear you, Rabbi.
The deeper the awareness, the deeper the cognizance.
Yeah, it strikes your heart in one way or another.
Empaths have das.
You're like what?
Empaths.
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 Oh, empath.
Have a lot of das.
Yeah, absolutely,
You know?
Absolutely, yes.
Would you please repeat what you said the last minute? The last thing that we really, not until Esther spoke, could we really hear you.
Really?
Really, the last maybe 2 minutes we didn't hear.
We lost volume for about 30 seconds.
30 seconds?
Oh.
Okay, maybe only 30 seconds.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I don't know. The last thing, you think I know the last thing I said? Maybe somebody else does.
You were saying how some people have this das and that some people don't.
Oh.
But
Okay.
then there's the fusion of it.
Yeah,
like-
there are people for whom their soul origin inclines them to have das more accessible. And these are the people who we would call them wholly integrated people. And there are people who come from a lower level who are not gifted with that, but who can become that through avoida. And we're not talking here about the tzaddik gomer. When we're talking here, the tzaddik gomer by definition in Tanya is one who has completely transformed darkness into light, right? But there are other levels of tzaddik. And there, if we take it more simply, righteous tzidkis, the notion of being righteous, means that everything that you do is in lockstep with what Hashem wants. What's going on inside of you, you may have difficulty doing it. That's why it's called avodah shebalev. It's a service, but it's available if you'll learn how to do it. So we're learning the Kintras HaTefillah. It's a teaching. It's meant to teach us that we have to take our mindful awareness and our recognition of godliness, which we have through our chachma, and bring it into our heart. And that will be the avodah shebalev. That's really why it's called avodah shebalev. And we'll talk about some ways to do that.
Yeah, but you were saying before that there's das zelu mazeh. So technically, das is not necessarily associated with whether you're a tzaddik or not a tzaddik.
No.
You can be born with a very, very big, tremendous amount of das and be a
There's
rasha.
there's zelu umazeh. That's what we said earlier. Zelu umazeh is a fact. Anything that you could say in Kedusha has an opposite until you get to atzmus.
So what does das have to be integrated with? So you want to be a rasha. What does das have to be integrated?
It has to be integrated with the thoughts and deeds of Kedusha, with learning
So
Torah.
the Kedusha, the thought of the Kedusha, things that give the das
If you-
the right command,
right,
the right
you-
direction.
Yeah, you can have das
That's in
of
response
stupidity.
to Esther's
You
last.
can have das of stupidity.
Hmm.
You can have das of
Bigger.
of negativity,
Right.
right? You can have das that leads to terror. The heart, right? It's all about the heart and the mind. Well, if your mind is screwed up, and you take that to heart, it's going to produce a lot of agony, or could produce a lot of
Oh,
agony.
The directionalization of the das in the right direction comes from a voda.
The avoida is to get the das in the right direction.
Okay.
It comes through limud Torah, which limud Torah has to lead to his baininess in Torah. And his baininess means deep understanding, deep reflection, right? And without that, as we says, number one, we're not going to learn this again. Number one tenet of this little pamphlet is his baininess, the Torah and in Elokus, in godliness, is prerequisite to this kind of das. You could steep your mind in all kinds of stuff and go to the other side, even thinking that it's Kedusha.
You know, it's interesting. Jordan Peterson says that we all have the capacity for evil in us, right?
Yes, we
We're
absolutely.
literally one step away from it. If we put out, like, it's literally so close. And the more your neshama has this capacity for das,
Right.
the deeper the das, the deeper the capacity to
Right.
go the complete opposite way. and be
Taurus is
You have
even
to have the potential. for
Taurus
good
is
and evil,
even
correct?
deeper than that,
You
because
have potential for good and evil.
remember that we've learned this in the first pages of Tanya. The Nefesh Bahamis is the first arrival. It's the first arrival. When you're created first. Remember in the creation of Adam, he fashioned a bunch of dirt, pure lowliness, and then he blew in the Nefesh Elokis. So the Alter Rebbe says, he tells us in Tanya that the Nefesh Bahamis, you've been living with that much longer, and so it has an achiza, it has a grasp on you. Now we're not going into the fact that it comes from a higher source, but that you have to teach. You have to make the Nefesh Bahamis aware of who they truly is and why it came down here, which is to give us empowerment to serve God. But you have to teach it that. And if you don't, you know what happens. I can see on people's faces, you know what happens. All right, so with that, Moshe Rabbeinu is the one, he's the intermediary. He's Koine Eved. That word Evet, that's the first line. Hikona Evet. He's the one who gives us the connection between the world that he comes from. By the way, Moshe Rabbeinu, I don't know if you may have come across this, is one of the few neshamas who comes from the world of Tohu.
Of what?
Of Tohu, the world which precedes this world.
Tohu Bohu.
Esav, I don't know if Esav came directly from there, but he's an emblem of that also.
Really?
I've never heard it. I've just never heard it.
I've
I've never heard it mentioned that he has a
Why
soul.
did Moshe Rabbeinu-
That Esav does? If he does, it does. Okay. Then
There's a sikha that talks about it.
Yeah.
okay.
Why did Moshe Rabbeinu come from Tohu?
Why?
No, but you say, well, why would Esau and Moshe Rabbeinu both come from Tohu? One was such a Rosh and someone to Sasadi. Why do we say it? What's the meaning of the fact?
The meaning of coming from Tohu is that you come into this world with an experience of God, pure godliness, without any compartmentalization, without any separation.
So why would
You've
Esau
experienced,
come from the same place?
huh?
Why would Esau come from the same
Zeh
place?
le'uma zeh. This
Got it.
principle is all over the place.
No, I'm just
There
asking.
is- Yeah, that's the answer. Zeh le'uma zeh. Right? Huge lights of Paroi can be transformed into huge lights of Kedusha, or they can remain black magic. The huge lights of Esau have for centuries remained the predominant power in this world until we convert it, until we mahapich it, until we turn it back to discover its root in Kedusha. And that's our job.
Tohu, like Tohu Melohu?
Yeah, that's where it comes from. Yeah. Okay, I just wanted to bring that partly because it's Moshe Rabbeinu's yard site, and partly because it gives us a little insight into Das.
I did not realize Moshe Rabbeinu comes from Titan. Wow.
Yeah. And Chanoich also comes from Titan. I don't know.
Wow.
You
I
know,
don't know very
you
little
know,
about tonight. Chanoich, yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
No, that's different.
Those are the
Chanaich and Enosh.
not Enoich. Chanoich.
No.
Oh, I
those are
thought you said Chanaich.
You know.
Chanoich with ach at the end, not Enoich. Enoich is
No.
Right, that's
yeah.
something different.
All right.
Mashiach
So
also comes
okay,
from
good.
Tohu,
Thank you.
huh?
So Esau also comes from Tohu. Huh?
Mashiach comes from Tohu then.
I don't know if
Connected to-
Mashiach comes from
Moshe
Tohu.
Rabbeinu.
Well,
Mashiach.
yeah.
I hear what you're saying, but I'm not going to go because I'm not.
Why?
Gonna,
That makes a lot of sense because the Iris of Tayu are greater than Tikkun.
absolutely, it makes some sense, but I'm not going to.
Can't go
I
there
don't like
right
to.
now? It's a
I
little
don't know. I
chaotic
don't
go
like
there.
to. No, I don't like to say things that I haven't seen.
Okay, got it.
That's all.
Okay.
We could do this. There are a lot
But
of.
if we're to say that Moshe Rabbeinu's neshama came from Taihu, then,
Right.
then that is to say that
Look,
Mashiach's neshama comes from
The
Taihu.
Rebbe, and to your point, and one thing which I have seen and maybe you've seen, that the Rebbe has said over and over and over again, that our job is to bring Oiris the Tehu and Kalim the Tikkun. Oris, the lights of that, and of course that's a messianic view of the things. So I would say you're right, but only till I can get a catch in my, only till I can click something in my head that I've actually learned, do I feel comfortable, making these large statements.
No problem.
How does that make her right?
Because the Rebbe said so, and the Rebbe is our Moshe Rabbeinu.
Wait, but the bringing but bringing the Uris of Tohu into Kalim of Tikkun. How does that?
That's Mashiach. That's Mashiach's state of mind. Uris the Tohu down here below. That we bring a Tohu experience to ourselves, and we elicit that Tohu experience in every little detail. Every little details are the Kalim of Tikkun, the world of Tikkun, and that's the deal. We bring Tohu into Tikkun, and we bring Tikkun up to Tohu. That's Mashiach.
We have another refuah shlema for Shner Zalman ben Chana Rachel and Amalia Rachel bas Rivka Chana.
To have an refuah shlema. Okay, we're going to start now back over in our Lamimer. Now you can. Did you pass these
Yes,
up?
we
Yes,
have
you
them.
did. All right.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, we're going to start in our mimer. I have a bookmark here. Page 18 in the book. All right, we're going to learn a little paragraph on generally how to attain this posture that you're supposed to have in davening, in tefillah. Remember the postures, a certain amount of nafal, a certain amount of lowness, but lowness here meaning shilfus, openness, a certain amount of connectedness, and now what he said before, that in order to make this connect, you have to have what to connect. You have to have that Torah in your head. Right? Now, we're going to talk about later, what if you don't? Because all of us, however learned anyone in this group is, there's a lot more to learn. That's a safe thing to say because the Torah is infinite, right? So sometimes we may have things, he said, by the way, early in the first couple of voices, that you're kidding yourself if you think davening is hisbonenus. Because hisbonenus is just a necessary prerequisite, because hisbonenus, as I said earlier, by definition is bina, and bina that needs to be connected with the heart. As the Zohar says, bina liba, bina comes to the heart, ubo halev mevin, and it brings the heart to understanding. When the heart understands, that's the so-called sense perception. When you feel it in your heart, and what is it that you feel? Though, and it must be, and only those things which are emes sheba mitoy, the things, the deepest parts of Torah. Otherwise, as you said earlier, you can get crooked in this. You can really get crooked in this. Okay, page 18. Anybody want to read? Anybody out there want to read? On Zoom, we can hear you. Are you reading?
I know we are.
That right there, yeah. So a person should not think, how can I possibly come to this avoda? How can I reach there? Go. Period. So before he comes to that, or she comes to that, before he's reached such a level, it appears to him that what he's doing is just imaginary. It's just, one can be thinking lots of things, right? But are you there? Is your heart in that place? Or have you made the connection yet? So a person could get a little down about that. How am I going to do this? Gamke. Taruvis. And in this, right. So in this, you can start getting pulled down into. You're making, in other words, you're saying, Rabbi Rashab, you've described this like as an extremely lofty thing. I have to do a lot of. First of all, I have to learn a lot, and I have to do a lot of really bringing it into my bina, a saga, really getting it grasped, right? And how can I possibly do that? He says that this is a trick, tachbulas, these are the tricks of the Yetzer Hara. Because the Yetzer Hara doesn't want you to do this. It doesn't want you to do this work.
What is it?
Harihu. So the person,
Tefa or Tifa?
Tipa Mara.
Tipa Mara. משפלות ומשפלות.
משפלוס
של שקר, כלומר איך תבוא לעבודה הגדולה, עבודה גדולה שאינו מריחה
cloud. So Yetzer Hara throws a person into this lowness of spirit, and here we don't mean in a positive way. He says, "B'shiflus shel sheker." Right? Who am I? How can I possibly do this? To say, how am I going to ever come to such a great avoidance?
Give up with exasperation.
Yeah. Lama, and therefore he says, the person says, Lama, why should I struggle with something that's much, much harder than I can ever reach?
The best is the enemy of the good. You give up.
Aval, but. No niflos. It's, you should know it is not something wondrous. It's not something far from you. Remember, this is a part of Tanya, right? The beginning of Tanya. It's not up in the sky. It's not something you can't reach. You can reach this. You can reach this. You can reach the connection between the heart and the infinite God. It's not far at all.
I've done it. And it's close to everyone who has a brain or mind to think.
No, you got to get the next one. Stop. So this is close. The Rabbi Rashab said this thing is actually very close for anybody who has a brain, and a heart.
להניח ולקשר על ידי,
himself.
לאיזה עניין?
That every person who has a brain and a heart can steep oneself in and tie oneself. That's the other meaning of das, kesher, to connect oneself in an Indian. Everybody, well, there are exceptions. We're talking about people who have a normal brain capability, not exceptional brain capability. All of us have the ability to tie our heart to our mind through heartfulization of godly concepts.
ויש בכוחו ויכולתו עליון, הנה הוא, what is it, יתר מכן, what is יתר מכן?
עצמו.
נדרש לכל הדורשים אותו באמת, כביכול.
Yeah, I think you skipped a line. You did.
ויש בכוחו יכולתו לקשר לעצמו לעצם האלוקות.
So stop. So there is the power in every single person to tie oneself to the essence of godliness, as it's understood in your brain. And specifically, this is one of the kindnesses that Hashem gives us. It's an amazing thing to do. Think about. Look at us around the table, around there in Neverland in virtual space. Each of us an individual, self-defined individual. Yeah, and God has given this ability for us to subsume inside of us His infinity. I mean, that's a great kindness.
Beautiful.
So therefore, Hu Yisborach, God may be blessed. Nidrash l'kol derushim oisoi. He requires of everyone who is required to look for that be'emes.
In the truth.
In other words, it's an interesting thing to think about this, that he's dorish. One way of saying dorish, like we use a drush, we look for interpretations. But on the other side, he's made us this way.
Beautiful drush.
Right? He's made us this way, yeah. And so he expects it from us. Beautiful. But not like a parent who has high expectations for a kid who can't deliver, but like a God, a father who knows that the child is naturally, well, it's not naturally, has been created to be one with him.
It's beautiful. שיקשר על ידי, בחוזק, יבוא, what is it?
I'm not sure where you are.
בבחינת הרגש התפילות הנעל, what is הנעל stand for?
הנזכר לאל.
הנזכר לאל, okay, because I'm not familiar with the kitzurim. למחול לבוא כביכול.
Where's he holding?
Right here.
Right here. Okay.
I'm not familiar with the
okay.
kitzurs,
and when he ties himself, the chayzek, in a strong way, he will come to a feeling. This is a promise. God makes a promise to us. If you tie yourself to His mind, because that's what we're talking about, you utilize your Havana, your Chochmah and Bina, to unify with His Chochmah and Bina. And this is the back to your point about you could go out, you could go, wait, let me finish. You could go to the dark side as well, right? Because if you tie your Chochmah and Bina to something which is not emes, you could also bring that to heart. And I don't want to talk about that too much, but that's why that you have to be very careful with this. He's given us a set of, what should we call it? He's given us a way of thinking, and He's given us a view into the infinite through that way of thinking. And He's given us the ability to bring that to heart, to take that to heart. But that and nothing else is what we have to take to heart. The beginning is hergish v'spilus anal. Ubavada, and certainly, of course, it's going to take a lot of effort. There's no shortcuts to this. But there's no shortcuts, but it's not wondrously far away from you. At all. All right, so this is this avoida. Avoida sheb. This is the first word of tefillah. Avoida shebalev. Work with the heart. And I think we've established what the work is. The work is to bring ultimately Panemius Torah into the heart, and in that way have a sense perception in your heart, a feel, a hergesh, because you've tied, you mekasher above and below, and you've seen it. It's as if you've seen it with your eyes, like seeing something in front of your face. I got it. That, if you can stand in that posture, you can pray.
It's another thing to hold on to it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well, and he doesn't talk too much about it, but he mentions that at all. Yes, it's hard, and it's natural that it flies away because we get distracted for a number of reasons.
You get this at a number of points.
And there are a few things.
Like holding on to this forever.
Not only are we distracted, but we don't learn enough.
Right.
Rabbi, when it says mijat lalev, which is the heart, is that how we hold on to it, Esther? Is that what she's saying?
No, that she's saying that even though it may penetrate the heart, and when that happens, you're there. You're in the groove, right? You're in the flow, but you can come out of the flow, and you got to work at getting back in.
Is it one of those things that can also be like you'll get this inspiration and you'll feel so connected and you'll feel this and then it flies away? But even still, even if somebody does this avaida from below and they do it out of their own volition, and they do it because they want to do it, that's something that has to be constantly cultivated. It is. What do you mean? That it's the non-selfishness? No, just getting to this place of being really fully integrated and connected. You know, most of the time, even for a Bainani, it's only during Kriya Shema that he feels this. No, like it's only like. Look, just think about an athlete. An athlete who really takes oneself seriously as an athlete is always in training. So that's us.
We don't go up, we go down. That's basically what you're saying.
Well, that seems to be a fact also. If you don't work on it, you'll fall. But it's a constant. It's avoida. That's why it's called avoida shebalev. It's work. It's not like a.
Is that
there is. You know, when there is an interesting thing in Tanya, he speaks about the difference between oived and eved.
Right.
Remember?
Yeah.
There are folks who have arrived now, but I can't tell you about them.
Mostly malachim.
You'd have to ask the Rebbe, someone like that. Do you still have work to do? And I know I can tell you the answer is yes, but it's not the same work that we're talking about here. It's a different work. But we are, and everyone of us who are getting up in the morning and saying Birchas HaShachar, it's incumbent upon us. Number one, it's incumbent upon us, and number two, we've been given the ability, if we will just cultivate it.
Yeah, but I just feel like the more das that a person really has, the more the conflict, the more the avoda, the harder it is.
Why? If it's a das is in
less
kedusha.
Simplistic.
If the das is in kedusha, why is it more?
It doesn't mean the das is in kedusha. A person who has das doesn't necessarily mean it's
in
kedusha.
If it's not in kedusha.
The avoda is to get into kedusha.
This avoda is not to be done on the other side, right?
No, what I'm saying is that we're talking about you were differentiating between how some people are born with different levels of das. Everyone's born with different levels of das. Right. And you have some people who are born with a tremendous amount of das, and finding that path to get to that place of unifying your chachma, your bina, and your das together, and in the mayach and in the heart and in your actions and everything. Yeah. The more das a person has, the harder the challenge is. I heard what you're saying.
No, that's an interesting point.
We're going to flip now. We're going to flip now.
Knowledge is contradistinction from Kiruv Hashem. Sometimes people from a secular, not your perspective, will say the greater knowledge you have, the more difficult it is to have a bogus Hashem. I think sometimes, as the rabbi said, it can also be the opposite. You know, the greater das you have, the greater.
So let's stick with it. Let's stick with. He's now going to talk on page 23. What?
Why people do drugs.
That's why people do drugs.
Out the das.
Yeah, quick. Why do I need to do the avoida?
Addictions.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Look, because that's what we're talking about. The hergish in the heart of infinity, right?
Look to the Shemaim, like Tzilim.
So do you remember? I always quote this thing. I want to put it on the table again because it's relevant. William Blake, 17-something, says, if the doors of perception were open, every human being would experience what they really are, which is infinite. Now,
ayahuasca sounds like it.
Yeah, see, you go right to That's a drug experience, right? Isn't
They call it
no
the medicine. I don't know.
I know this, this
into it.
is the experience which is available in contemplation, meditation, in Das Torah. That one lives in the finite with the reality of the infinite.
That's good.
Lives in the finite with the reality of the infinite.
The people that I speak to about,
I know you.
They literally say.
I know.
They literally say that when you have that experience, you realize you are God.
Right.
I'm like, whoa.
I've heard that so many times.
Like a piece of God. They don't mean like you're.
I've even heard
God,
teachers.
Yeah.
Say that.
I've never tried it. I'm just like.
But it's a big mistake.
By the idea.
It's like saying everything is holy. No, everything is
right. It's not.
It's not. Everything is.
When you have what experience, you realize you're God?
Hold on. Just let me finish the thought before you. Everything is godly, meaning there's nothing that exists without the koyach of Elokus within it. But to translate that into everything is holy is a big mistake because there's Kaddish and there's Kaddish and Chol. Right. Similarly, the ability that people have claimed, and I know people where it's true, that experience that you're talking about, drug-induced experience. If you read the Rebbe's letter on LSD, it says everything. Very interesting, and he has spoken about therapeutic use of these kinds of substances, but he says very clearly, this is not the way. This is not the way. It produces a semblance of the way.
I would like to see those letters.
They're published. You just Google letter Lubavitch Rebbe on LSD.
I've never tried.
Right.
No,
I'm saying personally, I've never tried any
Not
of this stuff.
but you see what he
I'm
said. I'm sorry, I
fascinated with
used the
people's
language.
experience of it, and I've always wanted to know, like, if there's a way to get to that place. Really,
This is the way. This is the only true way.
But yeah.
So let's talk about 5 ways to open up your heart.
Okay.
On Yud Aleph. Somebody was saying something. I cut somebody off.
I think Elisheva was.
Elisheva, you were saying something?
I think I gathered from the conversation what you were talking about.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Anyone else want to say?
I'll read.
Vihine, page 23.
Okay.
What?
Page 23.
Page 23. I'm watching the time.
Okay. Vihine bichtei leftayach meichai v'libai sheyachal la'avaydas Hashem b'tfilah.
Okay. In order to open up one's heart, one's brain and one's heart, right? Gotta have to be able to serve Hashem in tefillah. Remember, joining the two together, tafel, yeah.
Tzrichim lezeh hachana b'nafshay liyos keli hara'oi lekabel ar.
You have to become. There has to be a preparation in one's soul to make yourself a proper vessel to receive the light.
You have to empty yourself out.
That's, who was it that said, what's the famous side that said, there's no greater keli for broken than a broken vessel? It's empty, being broken is part of the process of making the right vessel.
That's why David Melech was able to do what he did.
So get on to the next bracket.
Now, Kama pratim.
And this preparation has many details. And he's going to, I've short bracketed as much as I could, 5 ways that he puts on the table to open up your heart and draw into your heart the infinite from above.
Aleph, shetzarich lahasir midatai kol tirda. Shala yitared v'balbel.
First thing is clear your mind. Not that this is easy either. Clear your mind of any troublesome thoughts that are bothering you in tefillah. I told you a story about my friend who he had a metaphor that worked for him for many years. He would imagine that there was a little man with a broom in his head. Sweeping. And that little man with broom would be sweeping the stuff away. Right. So this is the beginning of step number 1. So a person should open up 2 doorways, and then pray.
Right.
So what it means is you shouldn't just walk in and pray. Think about that. You got to at least get through 2 doorways. Take some delay. Right.
Oh, wow.
So don't be so quick to just open up the siddur and start praying. when you come in from the outside. Okay.
Okay. Shall we do the brackets there?
Yeah. Meaning to take some time to do it slowly, so that you're slow enough so that you can get rid of as much of the distractive stuff that you brought in from the street, right?
Why do you use chumrim? The material.
Gashmi is physical, and chumrim is Ella.
She Yesha.
You should delay.
Yes. Wow. What does that word come from?
I don't know.
Okay. Kashir Shayasalik Vyasar may itai Unyanav Akaidin.
Enough time that you're able to get rid of those things which you came in with previously.
Yeah, that's a base up there.
Yep.
I say.
So it shouldn't confuse you. Next bracket.
Okay. Alay binyana bagashmiyam kumay b'shena al derech mashal.
Yeah.
What is hey? Let's try.
Like sleep, like in physical things, like sleep.
What does hey mean?
Where? Harihem.
Harihem.
Yeah. So you wake up, you shake off the sleep, right?
Hariyesh v'chalasay lahasir terdaisav daigasav b'shvil inyan gashmi hamuchrach legufay.
So just as you shake off the sleep, you should shake off the worries that you might have of physical things, which you need to be concerned about them, your business, whatever, your project, but not now.
In Cain?
Yeah. The kol shekain, how much more so?
Okay. Sheyesh v'chalasay lepayel kazais or bezais?
Kazais, like this.
Kazais bedavar hanega l'nashek.
So if you can shake sleep off of yourself in the morning, yeah, it's still good. But again, it takes a little time, right? 2 doors, you say, right? And you can, in the middle of the day, you can transfer your thought from one thing to another, right? So how much more should you be able to think about? You have that ability. Know you have that ability. So much more so you should learn to and concentrate on applying that to affairs of your soul. That's number one. That's step number one to open up your heart. Bez. Talis and tefillah. Talis and tefillin.
Before we go on,
yeah.
I have the letter up on my computer if you want me to quickly read it. It's very short.
Oh, okay, fine. About LSD?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go for it.
So it says, greetings and blessings. And by the way, the date is 20th Mar Cheshvan, 5725, October 26th, 1964. Greetings and blessings. I am in receipt of your letter of October 18th, which you write in the name of your friends and in your own behalf and ask my opinion regarding the new drug called LSD, which is said to have the property of mental stimulation, etc. Biochemistry is not my field, and I cannot express an opinion on the drug you mentioned, especially as it is still new. However, what I can say is that the claim that the said drug can stimulate mystical insight, etc., is not the proper way to attain mystical inspiration.
Now notice, he doesn't say that it can't stimulate something that appears to be mystic. He said it's not the way.
He said appears.
Appears to be.
Right. And then he continues even with that to say, even if it had such a property. The Jewish way is to go from strength to strength, not by means of drugs and other artificial stimulants, which have a place only if they are necessary for the physical health, in accordance with the mitzvah to take care of one's health. I hope that everyone will agree that before any drugs are taken, one should first utilize all one's natural capacities, and when this is done truly and fully, I do not think there will be a need to look for artificial stimulants. I trust that you and your group, in view of your yeshiva background, have regular appointed times for the study of Torah and the inner aspects of the Torah, namely the teachings of Chassidus, and that such study is in accordance with the principle of our sages, namely, the essential thing is the deed, the actual conduct of the daily life in accordance with the Torah and mitzvahs, prayer, tefillin, kashrus, etc., etc. This is only a matter of will and determination, for nothing stands in the way of the will. I trust that you are also using your good influence throughout your environment with blessing. And then it's signed by the Rebbe.
Beautiful.
Okay.
But the Rebbe did say something along the lines of if it's necessary for physical health,
Right.
which can also include mental.
Sure, you can. That's what's, there's a lot of that going on today. Utilization of these microdosing, and they're looking. They're. I mean, he acknowledges. The Rebbe acknowledges that when one understands how to use them to heal, either physical or psychological, that's something else. But that isn't what people were doing with LSD in 1965.
Right. So my question was not with regard to this back then. I'm saying with regard to using it in a way that's for healing and for healing properties.
He acknowledged that.
Right.
But he's trying to say it's probably going to be pursuant to medical knowledge.
Well, it has to be. It has to be. What today? I mean, I know a little about it. There's only microdosing psilocybin is not yet approved. Psilocybin, small dose.
Of what?
Psilocybin is made from a mushroom.
Okay.
Right.
There is the only one that's approved is called ketamine.
Ketamine, yeah.
And the only reason it's approved, it has nothing to do with this. It was approved by the
pain.
For what?
For pain.
I don't know what, but for some other use. For some other use.
I don't know about drugs. Years ago,
It's not
when we were in
opiate.
high school, people used to take those magic, whatever. I didn't do it.
Yeah.
Magic one. Is that the opiates? Is that what you're
That's the
talking
same thing. Magic mushrooms.
about? Yeah, we were in high school, remember?
Magic mushrooms. Yes, same thing.
And I don't
But in any
think
case,
drugs
all
are
I'm saying
something
is what you brought out, that little snippet from the Rebbe, that there is a notion that some of these substances could be useful, but he goes,
Not for recreational
not
purposes.
for recreational,
It's for the
and not for inducing mystical experience.
Right, that too. Right.
All right.
I could just
Let me
say-
read number
I could
two.
think back to high school when a guy used to invite a girl over for a date. And
Okay.
say,
All right, let's go.
mystical experience.
Next.
After, you want to read it? Okay, go ahead.
Okay,
Go ahead.
after shaloshim
Tell us
hatal
the
in tablach shay kaidem hatfila eze inyan bid
Divrei Elokim Chai. Okay, this is huge, right? First, you walked in and you cleared your mind, right, as best you can. And now, before you even open up the Siddur, you learned Chassidus, because we want to get your Bina in the right place, right? Divrei Elokim Chai. It's very interesting to think about how Chassidus is always referred to this way in Chassidus. Divrei Elokim Chai, the words of the living God. That's Chassidus.
kechatzi shah ayeser
A half hour or more.
vegan kain ba'amida ay b'yeshiva makaim alkis
Dafka.
dafka.
He had said earlier that one of the things that you should do is find a comfortable place for yourself, either standing or sitting, not walk around. Not walk around.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll have to go to it. Yiftach. And this will open, sitting or standing in a place that's comfortable for you, learning Chassidus for a half an hour or an hour. This will open up your brain and heart. That your brain and heart will become fit vessels for receiving. And sometimes it's good to do this before Birchas Yotzer. In other words, you could start that. Birchas Yotzer is later, near the time of Baruch Hu. But you could stop there and also do it then. Before you get to Birchas Krishma,
Before you get to
and before you get to Shemoneh Esrei, obviously.
Well, when you say which brachas you're talking about, you're saying with an accent. They're saying that.
Birchas Yotzer,
Oh, but Yetzer, it gets to the Mashar. Okay, got it.
yeah, Yotzer Mashasa, etc., etc.
Okay.
Gimel. Anyone else?
Usually that's after.
You want to continue? Continue.
Usually, Rabbi, that's after.
Let's go. Let's go.
Lady, you want to read? Go for it.
Yeah.
Alright, I'll go.
Josh, man, how do we call it?
עוד זוס צריך האדם לפעול.
Shiftless biatzma. This is the third step. A person has
What
to
if you do this all the time?
put oneself in a state of shiftless, lowness, humbleness, openness. Not the shiftless. We use that same word, by the way. Excuse me. Over here, we use that same word. A guy feels low because he's not going to be up to it. He's miserable. I'll never be able to reach this. This is shiftless, which means openness. B'kamayim Rizal.
אין עומדין להספלל אלא מתוך כבוד
Right.
כבד ראש.
You should, when you're coming to stand to pray, you should come literally with a heavy heart. A heavy head, right? And what is this? He explains what it is. Not a headache.
Knas
Achnos v'shiflis. This is humility, loweredness.
That abbreviation is Hutzrich Al.
Pardon me?
What's that abbreviation?
Al Yudei. Where are
No,
you?
at the beginning of the
The
sentence.
Maimer Rizal?
the Hey Vav Ayin is Hutzrich Al.
Where is this?
No, the bottom of the page. That.
Behu Inyan. Oh, I'm sorry.
Behu Inyan?
Yeah. Behu Inyan Hachna. This is, in other words, this is, the Pasuk said, the Maimer Rizal said, Kovid Rosh, heavy head. So Behu Inyan, what is it? What is the Inyan? What does it mean, heavy head? It's shiftless. Al Yudei.
Yidei sheyeh ma'ari de hushvana
Ma'ari Hushman, a master of accounting.
lechashuv
Yeah, to consider, go ahead.
hetiv kol parate inyanov be
Shava Dibra Ma'asa, to think about all the things that have occurred in your thought, speech, and deed.
asher lo
Hashem.
lehashem hama
Hema, which were not in aligned with Hashem.
she'al yidei zeh nisrachak me'elokus
And through these things, you have distanced yourself from Elikus. Now, wait a minute, just make it so you can never distance yourself from Elikus, but you've distanced yourself from the
Your heart and
awareness of
your mind.
Elikus and your heart
From
and
what
mind.
Elikus? So you could never just.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we understand
The
it.
second part, what did you say?
Because you can never distance yourself from Hashem, because Hashem
Yes,
is
what was the
everything
second
and
part?
everywhere. But you can distance your heart, your mind, your feelings, your attention,
In your own
and your
reality.
own awareness and reality. Right.
Right.
betaklis harichuk
Utterly far away. Mikol Shekain, how much more so?
she'eno kli leor Hashem ukdushasa.
And you're not a vessel for Kedusha. You're feeling far.
So one is physical proximity, which you can never make yourself distant from, and the other is the spiritual closeness to be a vessel.
But in this right, where you're feeling the distance, the separation. Ukamai,
Ukamo diras hamelach shetzaricha lios menuka mikol
Mius,
mius
Lichla.
velichla.
Like the house of a king. If you're going to invite the king to your house has to be clean from all kinds of garbage. Mashenke, on the other hand,
Im ena menuka hare ena raiva
Roy.
roy lios diras hamelach.
So he's just using an example. If the house isn't clean, then the king's not going to want to come in, right?
Right.
So you try to do some exercise of cleaning yourself out, being honest with yourself about where you're holding, right? And just concentrate on those are the things that I know I need to deal with, and let's move on. But I know that, and I'm cleaning house, so to speak, in preparation for inviting you in.
Ukamo shekasov
Ukamokin.
okay.
Similarly,
Who be Adam she
Kol Echad V'Echad,
kol echad ve'echad tzarich lios
Leos.
kli u mishkan leor Hashem.
So it's, even though all of us are, the mere fact that we're alive is an indication that our physicality is a vessel for Elikus. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about sensing the presence of God in our hearts. And to do that, we have to do an exercise in our brain, like my friend with the little guy in his head sweeping his stuff away. I have to be honest about where I'm holding, and I want to express that I know that I have the capability and the interest to clean house so that you can enter, and I can therefore have an experience of you, and you can have an experience of me.
Will Hashem help you if you say to Hashem?
And
Hashem,
Hashem
I
will
need your
help you,
help with this.
absolutely.
I can't do this on
That's,
my
we're going to go somewhere down the road. He talks about Hashem having mercy on you. I mean, it's an appropriate thing to represent yourself, not the way of getting depressed that we had
Right.
before, but in a way of understanding that you are really not fit for this. And it's a brucha Hashem, and we said earlier, a kindness of Hashem that you're doing for me, even though I'm not fit, that you've said you will enter into me if I allow you to. And I want to allow you to. So I'm going to clean up my house as best I
So
can
beautiful.
to draw you in.
Wow. Should we finish here for the week?
Moshe Kosev.
Okay, Moshe Kosev, Asuli Mekadesh
Mikdash. Right? Last week's parsha, or 2 parshas ago? Last week's parsha. Asuli Mikdash Shchanti B'Seicha. God says to the Jewish people, it said to Moshe, make for me a holy temple and I will dwell within you. So make for me a holy, what do you think they did when they made the holy temple? Do you think they made it nice and shiny? Of course they did. They made it as inviting a place as possible. So in your thoughts, make yourself as inviting as possible to the presence of Hashem.
Betocho lo nemar ella betocham.
Right, this is a famous midrash. It says, make for me a holy temple, and my Shekhinah will dwell amongst you, plural. So there's a Beis HaMikdash in every person's heart, and a person has to be clean-hearted, as well as clean-minded. It doesn't say that I will dwell within it, I will dwell within you. Between each and every one of us. Just for the sake of brevity, we're already over time. I was hoping we could finish. Well, what does it matter? We'll do one more week. We'll do one more week.
I like that this is a continuation.
It's beautiful. We'll do one more week.
I feel like we're finally really delving into a topic that's like so important and also like.
I know, and I'm skipping a lot because we could spend a month on this. I mean, months of weeks on
You're
this.
picking out the main points, which is very important.
Yeah.
I want to learn about Mashiach and Geula.
Well, you didn't learn about it, anything in this class tonight about Mashiach and Geula? That's hard to believe.
No, I did, but I want to learn about.
You want to learn in Yoni? No, I know that. We talked about that. But we'll do that after. We're not going to learn in Yoni Mashiach and Geula. We're going to learn the Rebbe's Sichos on in Yoni Mashiach and Geula. And but we have one more week on this. We've learned 3 approaches. We'll tarz them over next time to get oneself in the capability for being able to really daven the way davening is supposed to be. We'll do 4 and 5, and then we'll finish with this parak on what about people who don't have any Chassidus in their head, young people who are just learning, like Tziri Agudas Chabad. He was Yitziurim. I had a conversation with I have a son who's a mashpia in yeshiva in Toronto. We were talking about this, and I asked him about himself and about the Bachrim and how much training they get in davening. And he says, I consider myself like the Tzirim. You'll see in the last parak, like somebody who doesn't really know much of anything. And you'll see I can pray. So we'll do that the next time.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay, Yeshikoya. Till we meet again.
Thank you, Rabbi Kenneth.